It's no coincidence they indicted me the very same day it was revealed that the FBI hid explosive evidence that Joe Biden took a $5 million illegal bribe from Ukraine. Now, this is done. I haven't read anything about it. This would have been the biggest story in history 10 years ago.
The great David Marcus is here, columnist, author. The book is called Charade, The COVID Lies That Crushed a Nation. Here to talk about some other lies as they try to crush a nation. David, great to talk to you again, brother.
Thanks for having me.
I want to talk about that specific claim from Chuck Grassley the other day in just a second. But real quick, if you were talking to a bunch of New Yorkers who don't pay attention to politics, they don't get it, they just hear bickering and what? And they're like, all right, David, give me the rundown. What are the accusations against Joe Biden? Give me the elevator pitch. What are the criminal claims against Joe Biden?
So for a couple of weeks, we knew that there was this FBI document and there was a tug of war. Christopher Wray, the FBI director, didn't want to give it over. Comer and Grassley and people in Congress wanted it. On Friday, we learned after people in Congress saw it that this involved Burisma. The moment we heard that word Burisma, we knew in the immortal words of Biden himself that this was a big effing deal. Burisma is the linchpin of the entire Biden corruption saga, because there is not a single person on the face of the earth who can say with a straight face that Hunter Biden had an $80,000 a month no-show job on the Burisma board of directors for any reason other than influence peddling. So then what do they say? He admitted it, right? So then they say, oh, but Joe Biden never did anything to help the company. Well, not exactly, right? Joe Biden pressured the Ukrainian government and said, I'm not going to give you $1 billion in aid unless you fire the prosecutor who's looking into Burisma. And then they said, well, yeah, but Joe was just fighting corruption. I mean, he wasn't benefiting himself for all of this, right? And now we have this FBI document with a credible longtime source saying, well, actually, there's evidence to suggest that the CEO of Burisma says himself that he paid $10 million in bribes to the Bidens. So, look, what I would say to New Yorkers or anybody is if it walks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, it's a duck. And there's more smoke here than there was in New York City last week.
So Joe Biden was asked about this in passing, and he said, where's the money? Where is it, David?
No, I mean, look, it's a fantastic mafia answer, right? We all remember The Godfather too. Like, guy's got a lot of buffers, right? Clearly, if something happened here, Joe Biden seems confident that he has the body hidden well. But Representative Nancy Mace had a great rejoinder to that. She said, well, we'd love to know where the money is. So why don't you and your family just show us all of your tax returns and all of your various bank accounts that for some reason you have all over the world?
Yeah. So I was talking to an FBI agent this morning about this 1023 document, and just in general, because Chuck Grassley was talking about this on the Senate floor the other day, and he's like, well, all Americans know that a 1023 document is blah, blah. I was like, I've never heard of a 1023. So my understanding is that you have a source, a human source, and they talk to an FBI agent, and the FBI agent writes down information and then plugs it into the computer, and out pops this 1023 document, just with everything all typed up all nice. And the Republicans asked the FBI for all 1023s that have the word Biden in it, but that Chris Wray did not hand over this document, which the claim is, this guy says, I have 15 phone calls between me and Hunter Biden and 2 phone calls between me and then Vice President Joe Biden, proving that he is indeed the big guy. Is that a fair representation of that story? Am I missing anything, any important details about this latest 1023 edition?
No, you're not. And what I think is truly shocking when you go back and you look at this is that it now seems absolutely clear that at the very time in which Donald Trump was being impeached for asking Ukrainian President Zelensky to launch a probe into Burisma, right? The FBI had its own evidence suggesting that there was a bribery scandal here. The entire impeachment hinged on the idea that there was no legitimate national security interest here in having Ukraine look into Burisma. If there was, then Donald Trump was innocent. Well, we now pretty much know that's true.
Wow, amazing. A great point. That's when Zelensky was a Nazi, by the way. Now he's a beloved hero. Will the American people ever hear those phone call, the audio of that phone call, do you think?
I don't know. If so, it's going to come as a big surprise because most of the mainstream media is going to protect Joe Biden right up until the very moment when it becomes completely untenable, right? And should that happen, then the rug will be pulled out and it'll be, oh my goodness, whoever could have possibly seen this coming? So, if it comes to light, that's how it's going to come to light. But look, Media Research Center just did, a survey of the news in the last week. Guess how many minutes ABC, CBS, and NBC national news broadcasts spent on this story? The answer is zero. Zero.
Yeah. How then does it get out of our bubble, right? Someone watching the First TV right now, like, we get it. We're on it. How does it get out of our bubble? How does it make any dent? And maybe a bigger question to that is, when things like this happen to Trump, his poll numbers always go up. And if people did hear about this with Joe Biden, how do you think people would respond? Do you think people would just be like, I hate politics, so they're all corrupt, and then maybe get disengaged? Or how do you think the American people would respond in general?
I mean, that's often how I respond, so I wouldn't blame anybody for doing that. No, look, I think as the drip continues, the real question will be independence. I think clearly strong Democrats, think Trump is awful and Biden's okay, and vice versa for strong Republicans. Getting this out, look, I know people are down on places like Fox News and the New York Post and all those things. It's important that the United States has big conservative media outlets that can sort of fight in real time and on that scale. And the First and everybody else are equally important. Like, all of us can do our part. Like, we all need to be talking about this and making sure that people know what's going on here.
Yeah, we got about 30 seconds. Do you see anything coming out of these charges out of Miami related to the classified documents in Mar-a-Lago? Anything coming out of this one?
Look, I think it's basically a process crime at this point. And that's another important point, right? When you spend all this time investigating Trump, it's really the reaction to the investigation that's gotten him in trouble here. Where's the Hunter Biden investigation? This has been 5 years. It's a tax case. I mean, are the tax records written in ancient Aramaic? How does this take 5 years? So, we'll see.
You're the man. David Marcus, go buy the book Charade, The COVID Lies That Crushed a Nation. Thanks, David. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up next, we are going to go into detail about the judge of this case. Finally, I would say, Donald Trump caught a break when it comes to all this madness thrown against him. Finally caught a break with a judge that he appointed. But what's this judge going to do? How much power, how much authority, how much role does a judge have in a case like this? So we'll talk about that coming up. Then we'll talk to Mr. Jacobson from Legal Insurrection about the specific charges. There's 37 of them. The big, sexy one is the Espionage Act. Ooh, the espionage. He's a spy. Wow. Donald Trump, the spy. Okay, so we'll break down that absurd claim. But there's other charges here as well. You add them all up, you're talking 400 years in prison. 400 years. So really, he's 76. You got a 20-year one out of the 37. Can one of them stick? There's also really interesting questions about intent. You have to prove also intent. Is that possible? And then obstruction. Is that an easy charge? Obstruction of justice? That's vague. What does that even mean? We'll talk about that all coming up in the next hour here as well. Right here on The First is Donald Trump, first president in American history to be charged on federal charges. 37 of them. More on The First.
For too long, we've been led to believe that communism is a thing of the past. But the truth is, communism is alive. It's here, and it's infiltrating every aspect of American life. Introducing the Anti-Communist Manifesto by Jesse Kelly, the practical guide for patriots ready to defend our nation from its most dangerous enemy. Discover the shocking extent of communist infiltration in our education system, their alliance with American corporations, and the twisted truth behind environmentalism. This eye-opening book exposes the true face of communism and empowers you to fight back. Join the fight for freedom. Pre-order your copy of the Anti-Communist Manifesto today by going to jessekellybook.com.